Okay.
My name is George Rutherford. I live in Charlestown, West Virginia. I was born and raised here back in the 30s. I am very familiar with the black history that has taken place in Jefferson County and actually in the country over the years. I guess my earliest remember of black history as far as being taught was in the segregated schools here in Charlestown, Eagle Avenue School. The second week in February every year was Negro History Week, 1 week. And the teachers would always teach us about black people who had really exceeded. For example, I can recall very well Colonel B.O. Davis, who was the first black general. The teachers were talking to us about him back in the 40s. At that same time, W.E.B. Du Bois was still living, and they're teaching us about him. We were also taught about other black people, such as Frederick Douglass and the role they played. We also was taught about what was taking place in Storer College, and the Storer College students would come down. But however, we didn't just have talked about those people during that one Black History Week, which was the second week in February. We talk about them the year round. Matter of fact, we was continually told almost every week or so what progress is being made by who and who was doing it. Where is Du Bois at? Is he in Ghana now, or is he in someplace else? We was also told about the. Um, we
That's okay.
also told about what was taking place in Africa. So actually, Negro History Week was just a highlight, but we were taught Negro history year round, and we could really follow the progress. However, today things has changed a whole lot when it comes to Black history. They changed the name from Negro History Week to Black History Month, and they just teach it or really talk about it once in a while during that month. But it became so commercialized, it's almost fake to a certain extent, and most of the time you talk about the very same thing. You talk about what Martin Luther King did, but you don't talk about what happened way before Martin Luther King came on. You don't talk about what the result of what happened after Martin Luther King died, and how Martin Luther King came to regret some of the positions that he's taken. You don't talk about the segregation that is still taking place today in this country, but back in the days of the Negro History Week, it was completely different. We really could understand it, and people would talk to you about it, and you felt proud. You really felt proud to be a black person or a Negro at that time, because you could see what the progress the people was making. Um, but today, it's just another holiday, or just another season. It's just so commercial now that people just want to make money out of it. And I really feel bad because the young black students now, or black kids today, don't understand what black history is really all about. They don't realize the struggle that has taken place, the progress we have made, and what we really hope to achieve in the years to come. They have missed that. We were always told during Negro History Week we had to succeed. We had to more or less follow what the thing that Du Bois talked about. We had to more or less be aware of what the NAACP was doing. We also had to be aware of who our enemies were, all those things, and which made us much, much stronger and more appreciative of our history. But now it's sad that we do not know our own history to a certain extent. One of the most moving things I guess that ever happened to me is as a kid, we all had to learn the Negro National Anthem, which will lift every voice and sing. 3 verses. Everybody in the school knew it. Even the kids in the second and third grade knew all 3 verses. Whenever the piano hit the tune, everybody would have to stand up automatically, and they would sing it. And now the kids don't even know what the lift every voice and sing is. They just would sit down and that's it. So Negro History Week was great for us, but Black History Month now is just a holiday and just something to make money on.
So tell me about when you were a little kid. when you were in school, so where did you go to elementary school?
Eagle Avenue.
Eagle Avenue. So, how aware of you that your school was separate than the white schools, or what did that feel like?
Well, it was just accepted because that's the way things was. We had to just about walk past the white school to get to our school, and well, we just felt that the way it was. However, we always knew that our teachers taught us and our parents taught us that things are going to change. They won't see it. I can recall very well Frank Johnson tell me when I was about 6 or 7 years old, one of these days that coin's going to flip, and you'll be on the other side of it. And then I knew what he was talking about. But yes, I can recall very well. We went to an all-black school, and we never felt inferior. Uh, and I can sense that now in some of our students, that inferior feeling. But when we came through, the teachers more or less told us we were not inferior, regardless. We may not have what the other students have, but we could overcome. And when I stop and look at it now, I think about the students in my class that graduated. Almost every student that graduated with me could have gone to college somewhere with no money. They were either going down to one of these southern black colleges or somewhere they could gotten in. But yes, we was more or less told that we could succeed.
So what about? I've heard that, I don't know if it was in the grade school or only in the high school, where your books came from.
The books came from the Board of Education, and the books were hand-me-down books that came from the white schools. And I can recall very well, lots of times there was no backs on the books, and also sometimes there would be writing in the book calling a negative name to the black student because the white student knew that this was the last year for them, and they knew where the books would come to, so we had those books. And we were glad to have the books because we didn't have no other books to use. So we used them. But our facility was, what do you call it, was in bad shape. For example, we had a science laboratory, and Mr. Damage was the science teacher, biology teacher. We had the Bunsen burner in there with no gas. We had the tank there with water, the spigot on, and no water. And he would have to just talk the experiment to us, what would happen to it. And so it's an amazing thing. If you look at the number of students that graduated from that school and went on to get a degree in biology, it's amazing. Yet we went to a school with none of the equipment we needed. But he taught us or told us exactly what the outcome would be and what to expect out of it.
Tell me what it was like to walk down. Where were you allowed to walk? Were you allowed to walk down Washington Street? Did you have to walk down another street?
Well, let's put it like this. When we was going to school, my father always told us to take the back road to school, which we did. We took the back road around Eagle Avenue to get to the school. He did not want us to walk on Main Street, because when you walk on Main Street and you saw a white person come down the street, you had to get off the sidewalk and walk on the street. Now I know this for a fact. We talk about in the 40s. We had many times had to walk on the side of the street, or the sidewalk. We would have to go down to the heart of town to do our grocery shopping on weekends and carry our bags of food back, and we had to more or less walk on the street like in order to not to be on the sidewalk with a white person. And they would expect you to get off. They would expect you to get off, yeah. Now, I'm not saying all the white folks were bad, because there was some real good ones there. There were some real good ones. But then the majority of them, they expected us to move.
Was there any place that you could go in to eat in the 40s? Or?
Yes, you could go into the restaurant right in the heart of town there. There was a new central restaurant. You can go there on Saturday night to eat. But however, you had to go around to the back door to the kitchen and order it, and they'll give it to you in the kitchen, and then you walk out. But as far as going to the front door, no, you weren't allowed. But it's a strange thing, though. Let me tell you. We used to go to the movies, and Saturday nights we come out to get a hamburger to go home. Since we could not go into the front door, we go around back. But see, all the cooks was black, and the cooks would give us these great big hamburgers and all this extra food and so forth, and pay very little for it.
So what about it? The movie that's, I guess, in the American Legion Hall or American. So
American Legion building.
how did you get to go to a movie? Where did you have to go?
There was a special small door, side door, that you go in that door, then you go upstairs and you sit upstairs, and it's hot up there in the summertime, and you watch the movie from up there. But it's a strange thing, we got a better view up there than they had from downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we had to go, and not just the American Legion building, also the old Opera House, where the Opera House is now. The same thing was there. We had to go upstairs to look down from the balcony. And things were like that until the funk houses came into West Virginia, or Charlestown, and they bought this building out in Ransom where the bank is, and they put a movie out there. And that's when the first time when black and white could sit on the same floor level. However, blacks would have to sit on the left side and the white on the right side, but gradually things just integrated.
When was that? The 50s?
That was in the 50s, about 51, 52.
So how did they know? Did the Funkhausers say everybody's allowed, or just that there was no balcony?
There was no balcony, everything on one floor. And we knew that the left side of the building was for black, and the middle and the right was for white.
Mm-hmm.
But after a couple of years, it just integrated.
Oh. Now there was above the fire hall there was a cantina up there, right?
Yes.
Were black people allowed?
No, you wasn't allowed there. As a matter of fact, the cantina would top the fire hall almost every Friday and Saturday night. You could hear the music and you see the kids out there, but blacks were not allowed nowhere near that. Mm-hmm. The black kids usually had their own canteen. They had it, you can call it a canteen. Mm-hmm. The St. Philip Episcopal Church would have what called sock hops or dances there in their parish hall. And then at the same time, the Eagle Avenue School up on Potato Hill, they would have dances on Fridays and Saturdays up there in the hallway.
Okay. Now, do you remember, I guess when you were little, when at night when your daddy would tell you to
get off the roof?
Yeah.
Well, that's the first time I have really seen the Klan, but I really was not really aware of what was going on. It was in the summertime. It was real hot, and there was no such thing as fans. So we would sleep out on the roof, on the tin roof light, and because it was cool. Most black people out in the Dogtown area did this. And so one night, must be around 11:30 or 12 o'clock, the Klan came around the alley. This is in a black neighborhood now. Came around the alley and spotted a light up there on my father and the three kids of his, and told us to get off the roof and get in the house and don't come out there no more. And so we had to get off the roof. I'll never forget that. Mm. It just so happened that the Klan would walk up and down the black section of the street almost any time. Mr. Doug Taylor told me the story about how when they walked past his house and coming up North Street, that even the dogs were running the house when the Klan came to. But he said he could also tell who the Klans were, whether or not they were a doctor or a lawyer or what position they hold in the town, because of maybe the shoes they had on or the way they walk or even their voices. And he said he was really surprised, the people that belonged to the Klan, and that they would do this.
So they were wearing their
hood.
And that was during the 40s or 50s?
This took place in the 40s.
Yeah.
40s, yes.
So how did it, when the war came, when the World War II started, Did it change anything?
No, the World War II didn't change anything at all.
Yeah.
No, the black soldiers went into World War II and they came back. They really thought that they were going to be freed or have the same privilege, and they didn't. Well, not just World War II, hell, also the Korean War. I got discharged in 1967, and I couldn't even get a permit to build my own home. It wasn't a bank in Charleston, it wasn't a bank in Jefferson County that would loan me money to buy a house, and I had a GI Bill. The only way I could get a house built, I had to go and get a direct loan from the government. And even after I got a direct loan from the government to build a house, even the city refused to let me build my house on my own property. I had to more or less threaten a suit, or well, actually the VA threatened a suit to force them to give it to me. And then this was around, I had the house, wait a minute, I had this house built in 66. And in 66, we were still having problems building homes and getting money, yeah.
Oh, tell me about 1956 when you were in the military, where you were stationed.
Oh, 56. You know, I was young, and I guess I was not foolish, but I had lots of experience, and I really enjoyed the Army. I was just like the Boy Scouts. We had the black Boy Scouts, and I was, I liked it. And the Army was just like the Boy Scouts to me. But a strange thing happened. I was a sergeant. I think, a 20-year-old sergeant in Germany, Munich. And one day I got an assignment. I was assigned to the Dachau concentration camp over on the other side of Munich. But I was assigned there as a prison sergeant. But that time, the prison, it was a prison for American soldiers. Like when American soldiers act up, they had to put them someplace. So they turned the Dachau concentration camp into a prison camp for American prisoners. And so I was more or less the prison sergeant there for a year or so.
How odd was that?
It was. I didn't realize it, what it really meant at that time. But I could still see the markings and what happened there. And I talked to some of the people, and they talk about they could remember the smell and everything, the smell of burning bodies and everything. And I was talking to one lady I know, and they said they didn't know what was going on up there, but they did see lots of people coming up there, people coming up there to be executed. But yeah, I spent a year at the Dachau concentration camp.
Wow.
And it's amazing when you see I'm not sure where it was there, but I saw a lampshade with a tattoo in it, which was someone's skin. It was an experience, and I guess I'm sort of glad I saw it, because it made me realize how people treat other people, regardless.
Yeah. While you were living here, what was the worst thing that you've seen that how mistreated certain people were in Jefferson County?
Oh God, there's been so much in Jefferson County. Jefferson County is not clean at all. I guess lots of it has to do with employment. I see how blacks have been mistreated in employment. Also, for example, take myself for example. When I finished college, I couldn't get a job teaching. I had to go over into Berryville and teach at a segregated school, because the Jefferson County School Board refused to hire me. And I guess the other thing that really disturbed me a whole lot was James Talbot and myself used to go to the school board meeting and council meeting and everything. Can you imagine that we have gone to a school board meeting, get up to the door of the school board to go in, and we are stopped right there and told we cannot come into the school board meeting tonight. We have been stopped from going into school board meetings and other meetings just because we were, as citizens. Now, this I'm talking about in the 70s. I'm talking about in the 70s. We were refused. Yeah.
How do you see it now?
Well, now it's sort of a, it's still undercover to a certain extent. I had incidents with even dealing with banks, not recently, but some banks in this town, where I went to borrow money, and that night I might get a call from one of the employees at the bank, and say, George, Mr. Rutherford, don't borrow that money. You can get it at maybe a cheaper rate, because other people getting a cheaper rate. That's the reason why I often wonder how some people survive. A good example, Russell Roper, he was a contractor here in town. And I know he suffered a whole lot. I knew they took advantage of him. They probably charged him a higher rent than the regular. Not just me, but most black people had to pay a price if they want to get ahead. And that was it.
So do you know of anybody, as you were growing up, that they left the area because they didn't think they would get a fair shake here?
A lot. I'm not sure they left just because. Oh yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the teachers left. They left the county. They graduated from Shepherd College or Store College. They left. My cousin George Rutherford Jr. He left. He was the principal down in D.C. His sister left. She graduated from Store College, Shepherd College, and she went and she was the principal down at one of the high school down in D.C. There are quite a few of them that had left here because they couldn't get the opportunity here.
Do you remember your mom or dad ever telling you that you have to behave differently or anything like that because people would be, either people are going to be mean to you or watch your step or anything like that?
Well, I don't remember my mother. She died when I was about 2 years old. But my father, he always told me, not necessarily my father, but also my neighbors. And we were a neighborhood. Regardless, I walked down North Street, and all the ladies down there and the men down there saw us come down there, or any kids come down there. They told us we had to be better. They also said, once you get down toward Main Street, clean your act up or do this and do that. You can't do this. And they're the ones that really told us. You always hear about it take a village to raise a child. Well, if you look back into the 30s and 40s and 50s, it was the village that raised a child. So not just my father or other kids' parents, but it was the neighbors, the preachers, the teachers, and the friends that really raised the black community.
So, tell me about Dogtown. I mean, that's where you grew up, right?
I grew up in Dogtown.
So, and that's up on North Street.
North Street.
So, do you know why they called it that in the first place, or?
I think they called it Dogtown because almost everybody had a dog out there. Everyone had a dog and nobody had them tied up. The dogs had free range. We had a dog. We always had a dog. We never had a dog house for him. He never was tied up. He ran all over the neighborhood. Everybody fed him, but not just our dog, but other people's dog also. But the dogs knew where to come to at night, where the home was. Yeah.
And you said, when you talk about a village raising a child, who was around you? What other families were around you that you knew you'd be safe if you went to their door or any of that stuff?
Well, wait a minute, not just Dogtown. That was a black neighborhood, and they were looked out for us. I could just go across the railroad track into another section of town called the Boone, and they would also look out for me. I would go up on the hill, Potato Hill, and those ladies and and men up there, they would look out for you if you were a black person or a child or something like. They knew who your parents were. They didn't even have to know who your parents were. They would always look out for you or guide you. Or if you need something to eat, they would give you something. It's just not just that the neighborhood is where you were raised at, but the whole community. And there was about maybe 6 or 7 of these black neighborhoods scattered around Charlestown. Because if you look at Charlestown, you got Dogtown, you got Big End, you got Potato Hill, you got the Boone. They're all around the town. And regardless of which one you lived in, these are people who look out for your welfare.
So when you were growing up, did it seem like it was Charlestown at all? I mean, you have your, say, 7 neighborhoods, and you sort of had to stick to yourselves, but it seems like there's 2 towns in one place.
To a certain extent, it was. But see, we had, like, for example, we had competition, like with football games and baseball games, softball games. Well, we would play Big End, we would play the Boone, we would play Potato Hill. It was just different groups.
But it was always black kids versus black kids.
Versus
it was never black
kids.
kids versus white kids.
Right, mostly black versus black.
Yeah.
Now, on the edge of Dogtown, there was a white family, and once in a while they would play with us.
But you had your own. You didn't have your own grocery store.
No, there was some small grocery stores scattered around, but really small.
Yeah.
Like right here in Ransom, there was this here was called the Boone section, and right up here about 2 blocks was a little store called the Newman store, and they sold food.
Okay.
But there were small stores just in the basement. It was just some. Well, you didn't really need much food at that time to buy to start with, because everyone in those days had fruit trees, they had gardens, and they raised pigs. So there was very little stuff you had to buy.
Did they have chickens too, or no?
They had chickens too.
Yeah.
So most of the stuff you bought was stuff like flour and sugar and so forth.
Okay. How different was when you went to Shepherd, right?
Yes.
So when you think of those days growing up, does it seem like a different town now, or is it just still seem the same? I mean, it's.
What do you mean, like
Like when you say every day, say you go for a drive now or go for a walk or whatever, do you still see Dogtown and you still see Potato Hill, or do you see? Does that just seem like a thing of the past, or is it still there?
No, I can still feel it. When I walk out in Dogtown, I can still feel Dogtown. It's the area is still there. The houses are still there. The people are different. The people are different on Potato Hill, Big End, the Boone. Some of them had, and even out in the people is a different breed of people out there now. And just a few of the old ones now, people my age, they were kids at that time. And some of them are still there, but most of them has left.
So how important is it for the people now to know about the past here and how it's changed?
Well, those saying if you forget your history, you lost. And I think that is what has begun to happen to us. We have begun to lose our history. We don't know where we have really came from. We don't realize the suffering that our foreparents have put into it. And as a result of that, we have suffered a whole lot. We have lost a whole lot because we forgot. That's the hardest part, that we have forgotten. We've forgotten where we have came from and what we can really do, that we can achieve. We can do this, we can do that. Yeah, we have. And Black History Month, the way it is set right now, it doesn't bring it back. It doesn't help you. It doesn't give you that energy you need. You talk about it for a couple of days during that one month, and that's it. But when you talk about Black History when I was a kid, that was something that was 365 days a year. You knew your history. It gave you hope. And right now, it doesn't give you hope. All it does is tell you what happened 100 years ago, what happened 50 years ago. That's all it is. You take what happened, but it doesn't give you that hope to move forward, that you can achieve, you can do that. You know, for a good example, college. Everyone could do what they want to do. They could get some kind of small business going if they had to. Probably a small black business, but at least you could achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And now it just don't exist there.
Mm.
You
I guess it's sort of lost, you know, some of this.
know, it is.
It's, you don't see that's like the kids coming up now. They didn't have to live through the struggle. So it's hard to get them to
Right.
realize the reality of it, I guess. Okay. I think we're good.
Okay.
Cool.